Well, a very good afternoon and welcome to Blacktown International Sports Park for this third of 5 grand finals. And today, well, we've got a spectacle for you today. The Eastern Suburbs Bulldogs, they're wearing the traditional colours of the Western Bulldogs as they move it through forward 50. Not a bad start from the Bulldogs. It's a great start for the Bulldogs, and they've taken a mark inside forward 50. So they're wearing the traditional Western Bulldogs or Footscray colours. And of course, the North Shore Bombers, they're in the black with a red stripe. And we have barely got underway in this grand final, and already the Bulldogs are on the board. And it comes through the number 6 in Charlie Burgess-Hall. What a start from the Bulldogs. Incredible stuff. 45 seconds on the clock. The grand final is just a puppy, and already we're talking about goals. Molly Gray joins me in commentary for this third grand final. Just an incredible start from the Bulldogs.
Oh, Jono. Yeah, no, you're right. You're right, it is. We've actually, we've watched some really great games today, but we haven't seen anyone get points on the board in the first 45 seconds. And I think this is great. This is what the Bulldogs want. You want to get out there and you want to get some points in early on in the piece to let them know that you are here to compete.
And again, they go back to back. Well, what a start. This time, it is the number 7 in Thomas Baxter that puts his name on the score sheet. 90 seconds old. And already, the Bulldogs lead by 2 straight goals. We waited 2 terms in the women's grand final earlier today. It was 4.5 minutes in the Sydney Uni game against the Premiers in the Pennant Hills Demons. And now we're 2 goals deep after 90 seconds. This is incredible. What a start. It's just all come from clearances inside that centre square. Just kicked down towards forward 50. And the Bulldogs have responded beautifully. Nice work here now from the Bombers. They try and counteract the Bulldogs, but they move it down towards forward 50 again. It's tapped away by the Bombers. Nicely swung along the line. Great tackle over the top there. Rory Barkley was the player on that occasion. And now the play will take place just outside the arc. And again, the Bulldogs have another opportunity to possibly put their 3rd goal on the board with just under 3 minutes played. So they move in just inside the arc. The mark was taken. Moves in, strikes it nicely. And they kick it wide. So 2 from 3 ain't bad, I think Meatloaf said. And they kick their first behind of the afternoon. But a flurry start from the Bulldogs, Molly Gray, in this grand final.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just awesome that they can get so many points on the board so quickly in the game as well. Really assert themselves and let the Bombers know that they're not mucking around, that's for sure. But it's it's a really great game so far. Just the way that they're able to move the ball so effectively between the players, I think, is really impressive.
Good tap over the top from the Bulldogs inside that forward 50 position. Baxter tries to work hard for the contest, but it's now the Bombers on the attack through midfield. It's a nice, strongly contested mark there for the Bombers. And the number 10 in Oscar Bird. Bird swings it through the midfield, but it's taken there beautifully by the number 3 in Bailey Foote. Just goes over on that far side, the Bulldogs, playing it on the outer wing. Brilliant stuff there from the number 3 in Harrison Parker for the Bombers. It swings through centre wing, and now the Bulldogs have possession. They'll try and bring the ball inside that forward 50 position. Juggling act for the ball. Comes loose. Back inside. Now the Bulldogs try and go for number 4. Incredible. their fourth scoring shot and their third goal of the afternoon. This is a fiery start to a grand final. And the Eastern Suburbs Bulldogs, they lead by 19 points to 0. And we're only 4:40 into this grand final. This is unbelievable, Molly.
This is a really great effort from them. But we saw it happen with Uni in the last game. They came out so hard, but they really dropped off towards the end of the game there. So hopefully this doesn't happen to them. Hopefully they can sort of start to slowly just keep building and keep the momentum and the consistency of their game so far, because, I mean, it's impressive.
Well, the Bulldogs have taken another mark inside forward 50, and this time it's Thomas Baxter. Baxter will go short. And now, well, there was a push in the back claim, but it's not being paid. So now the Bulldogs have an opportunity for their fourth goal. And now it will come through the 13 in Samuel Thorne. So can he be a thorn in the side of the Bombers? Moves in from about 35 in. Takes a shot on goal. Oh, this is too easy for the Bulldogs. They've kicked their fourth of the afternoon and they lead by 25. Well, I'm starting to wonder what ground the Bombers have gone to, because the side that I'm normally used to seeing from the North Shore, they are playing a very different brand. And the Bulldogs, haven't they got the upper hand here?
Sort of just wondering when the Bombers are actually going to show up to the party, because, I mean, there's a grand final being played out there, and it doesn't look like they want to. It doesn't look like they want to join the Bulldogs out there today.
So the play continues through the midfield. The Bombers now getting the football. This is better play from them. They work it nicely through forward 50. Need an uncontested mark, but can't get it. The Bulldogs' numbers are quite strong there. Plays it to the line, swings it back beautifully. And it's the 4 in Max Rise that brings it down to just outside the half-back position. Rise now goes high, down towards centre wing. Just bustled through the Bombers, but the Bulldogs have got numbers. Bit of a bump and shove. And now they fly through Thorne. And there's a bit of a punch up. And now it's on for young and old. Now they're going to town on each other, throwing rights and lefts, absolutely ripping in. Well, this started out of absolutely nothing. Thorne was brought to ground. There's a few pushes and shoves. The crowd don't like it. They might have spotted something. And already the Bombers, well, the frustration is starting to show in this grand final. And why wouldn't it, being down 4-1 with only 7.5 played in this first term? Bulldogs playing it over the top now, trying to work it through centre wing, inside forward 50. Nice shot on goal. Have they got enough? No. They kick their second behind of the day. And the margin goes to 26 points, but disappointing to see the frustration so early in this contest, because it's early doors at the moment in this grand final, Molly.
I think if you're getting frustrated so early in the game now, there's something wrong and you haven't prepared properly. I think they just need to just check themselves for a second and then just regroup and just restart the game. We're still early in the piece. The game is still, anyone can win this, but you've just got to keep a cool head. It's a grand final. Relax into it. Just have a think about the process.
Good work from the Bulldogs on centre wing. But the Bombers, their numbers are strong. Good work there from the number 4 in Rise to keep the ball in the hands, but it'll go to the Bombers. And it'll be booted in field by Jeremy Schumack. He'll swing it in towards forward 50. Good battle for the contest. Nicely worked through midfield. A remarkable kick inbound. And that's great stuff from the Bombers. Well, they needed to bounce back. Rory Barkley has set it up for the attempted goal here from Nicholas Brewer. So if they can kick this, well, that'll give them some sort of confidence and some sort of platform to build on. Frightening start from the Bulldogs, kicking 3 unanswered goals and then a couple of behinds. So now they move in, and he's sprayed it wide. So unfortunately, the pain continues there for the Bombers just for now, as Nicholas Brewer goes wide and goes through for a behind. But there is some positivity out of that. The Bombers, they're on the board, Molly.
They are, and that's what they need. Hopefully, if just getting that 1 point on the board will be able to, just sort of reinvigorate them and just get them back into this game because, they need to get into this game if they want to have a chance at winning.
So Jackson Barling taking a great mark there for the Bombers. And now they've got an opportunity just inside that forward 50 position. So if they can get a major here, they can really sort of change the course of the game a little bit. 10 to go before quarter time, you would think. Kicker's on its way, but again it's gone wide. So the accuracy just letting the Bombers down in the early stanza of this grand final. Third game of 5. Hope you're enjoying the day. Of course, we've got 3 grand finals next Saturday to cover and 4 grand finals on Sunday. Myself, John O'Farr, Molly Gray and Ben Eisenhuth will take you through all the action of that next weekend. We look forward to your company and hope you can stay for the course of today. Haven't we seen some wonderful games so far? It was a great grand final from the Western Magic as the Bombers just take it through. Mark isn't paid. Bulldogs now trying to work it just in that forward back position. Gives it along the back line. Now they swing it through towards centre half forward, and Baxter takes a nice mark. Looks for options. Now they swing it along the centre wing. Kicks it down towards centre half forward. Can't quite get there. There's a tap through. Thought it might have stayed in there for a bit. Again, a bit more push and shove, but strong work from the Bulldogs there. And 5 in Isaac Bartholomew's. He can't get the football inbound, so the boundary throw-in will take place. Tap forward. Dribbling kick through to centre half forward. But it's the 2-on-1 sandwich that puts the Bulldogs player down. And now they've just got to regroup. They settle things nicely. Bring it down towards centre half forward. Need that uncontested mark, but the spoil is on for the Bombers. The ball somehow stays in the field of play. Comes back towards the middle. Mark can't be taken. Picked up off the carpet. Thrown around. The Bulldogs swinging it through towards centre half forward. Now they've got an opportunity here. Bombers now bring it back through the middle, through the centre wing position. From half back through the midfield. Trying to keep the ball alive here, the Bombers. Margin is 23 with about 8 or 9 to go before quarter time. It's been a frenetic start to this grand final. The Bulldogs, of course, kicking 4 goals, 1 to get us underway. And the Bombers yet to kick a major, only minors. Goes back through the middle for the Bulldogs. They swing it along the boundary line, bring it back through centre wing down towards centre half forward. There's some space here now, but the Bulldogs, they've lost possession. Good hand pass over the top from the Bombers. They swing it back nicely. Banana kick, bends it. But it goes crack off the post. Oh, that would have been a special goal to Mark Harmanis. But it's smacked off the paintwork. And the Bulldogs kick another behind. So the margin now goes to 24, Molly.
It's been some good play so far, hasn't it? I think the Bombers have now started to get themselves into this game a little bit more. I really do believe, though, that the Bulldogs are just, sitting that peg above them at the moment. But as the game goes on, hopefully we'll see a shift in that and a more even contest between the two. But just the way that the Bulldogs are able to move around the field, and they're just, chipping away and just getting the points on the board that they need.
So Harmanis kicks another behind on that occasion. So they're third of the afternoon, and the margin goes back to that 25 points. As the Bombers try to swing it through that full-back position, and they kick from half-back through the midfield down towards centre half forward. But it's tapped away by the Bombers. They've got possession here. Good hustle and defence from the Bombers. But it was strong one-on-one work there from the 23 for the Bulldogs. In Errol Goulden. Kicks it over the far side. Nicely marked well there by the Bulldogs. They'll bring it back through the midfield. Kick it down towards centre half forward. And it's an uncontested mark. Now it's swung back towards the forward 50 position. Great uncontested mark. Came from about 5 metres away to take that mark. And now the Bulldogs have an opportunity through the 22 and Samuel Gadden. So looking for their 5th goal of the game. And they've just started to just settle things nicely here, haven't they, Molly?
Yeah, they have. You know, I think that's what they needed as well. Do you know what I'm really loving about this game, though, is the aerial skills. Everyone here seems to be really skilled in just being able to get up in the air. Oh, unfortunate for them there. Missed it again. Another missed opportunity. It's been a few of those so far for the Bulldogs.
Yeah, Gadden swings it wide, and that's their 3rd minor. But yeah, you're right. The confidence that these players show in the air, it's really sort of at a different level at this junior level compared to the AFL.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I love about under 19s is they always show no fear, and they're really physical as well. They just throw their bodies into it. It's probably because they can't feel pain as much as older people.
Yep, I hear you. So the shot on goal there is wide, and it goes into the grandstand area of Blacktown International Sports Park. So a couple of minutes to go before quarter time. Be interesting to see what will be said at quarter time with the Bombers coaching staff, and that's a great example of what Molly was talking about earlier there. Max Di Agostino takes the mark, kicks it back in field, and the Bombers bring it through midfield, but a good tackle over the top from the Bombers stops progression, and again there's more ugliness here in this game. Bit of a push and shove there for the Bombers. It was the number 10 in Oscar Bird who was certainly wanting to throw a few haymakers, but luckily didn't. Goes over that far side, and Harmanis now has possession for the Bulldogs. He'll swing it inside forward 50. Tried to go for the mark. Bombers will take it, but the umpire will come in and he'll award the free kick. So Bulldogs have another opportunity inside forward 50, and gee, that frustration for the Bombers, Molly, it's really starting to hurt them now, isn't it?
Yeah, you can see that. And what doesn't make much sense to me, though, is if someone makes a really good tackle, what's the point in getting up in their face about it? It's a contact sport. Just roll with it. If it's a good tackle, it's a good tackle. I think you've just got to drop the ego. And that's what's wrong with the Bombers at the moment. When you go into a game and you have that, you know, overzealous ego, that's where you start to make the mistakes as well. Your frustration will take over and you just can't seem to focus on the game that's in front of you at the time.
So the Bombers now try and work it through the midfield. A trail by 26 in this grand final in the shadows of quarter time. Good work close to the line, picked up nicely by the Bombers, just in inches within that boundary line. Crowder feeling that might have gone out of bounds, but doesn't really matter as the spoiler's on for the Bulldogs. And again, there's more melees going on. This time a bit of bump and shove. Again, just a disappointing thing to see in footy. The Bombers are trailing badly on the scoreboard, but they just need to start turning this around and play some confidence football, and that's a little better for them. So they swing it back through the midfield, down towards centre half forward. But a specky taken there beautifully by Samuel Gadden, and he'll just bring it back through and nicely intercepted there for the Bombers. They try and bring it through that centre half forward position. Brings it back nicely. Bulldogs just trying to slow it down. Riles just kicks it away. Chance goes begging for the Bulldogs, and the Bombers contribute with something pretty special there. And now they have an opportunity just inside the forward 50 position. And it's Jack Brasher that has this opportunity for the Bombers, and this will really build their confidence. This is the sort of play that they need to be putting on to get themselves back in this game. So they move in. Kick is on its way, looks good. And there it is, the first major of the afternoon goes to Rory Barkley for the Bombers. So good lead-up work, they moved it nicely through the midfield. They just controlled things once they got inside the arc, and, well, you saw the finish there from Barkley.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's good to see that they finally got a 6-point goal. It's taken them a little while, but hopefully what this will do is it will just sort of give them the encouragement that they need to settle down and play their own game as well. You could see there that the way that they were moving it around the midfield and then into the arc, like once they get some momentum and some consistency within that, they can actually do some great things. And that goal there was just proof that that's what they need to do.
So the Bombers now on the attack with the footy, but at the wrong end at the moment. Need to get it out of that forward 50 position. The Bulldogs now coming hard. The numbers are strong. Baxter tries to go at the football. Ball goes over the side. Hymanis. Oh, he felt that it was on again, and I'd say one of the players has slipped there. But again, still a bit of trouble for the players. They're really coming at each other in this grand final in the opening term. It's quite ugly, that incident close to the benches earlier in the quarter. So it comes back, and the Bombers now just have possession nicely. Good kick away from that half-back position. Nicely played away there. And it'll go to Parks. He'll just find his man just at half-back. Now looking for something through the midfield. Tapped over the top. Bulldogs take an uncontested mark. Bit of fancy footwork. Sees the ball go into the forward 50 position. High and long. Comes into some open field. Bombers are on the ball. Just chipping over the top. Harmanis is after it for the Bulldogs. But it'll go into the Bombers' hands. And, well, that's quarter time. An ugly one for the Bombers, but for all the wrong reasons, really. They've got to get the frustration out of their game if they're going to have any chance in this game. So quarter time here at Blacktown. The Bulldogs lead by 20, 4-4-28, plays 1-2-8. A break and back with the second term. And welcome back to Blacktown International Sports Park here on a beautiful Sunday afternoon. Grand final day 2018 in the AFL Sydney competition, and it's been an interesting first term between the Bulldogs and Bombers. Bulldogs zipped away to about a 26-point lead, and now they lead by 20. But the Bombers need to do a fair amount of work in this second term to get themselves back into this contest. John O'Farr and Molly Gray, your callers for today's grand final. 3 of 5 grand finals. So a big day here at the footy, but it's been fun. Ball goes to the Bulldogs. And they start the second term the way they started the first term. Another goal there. Thomas Baxter on this occasion. They kick their 5th. And now the margin, well, it's just starting to get very ugly for the Bombers. Interesting start to this second term, really. The Bombers, again, just allowing the Bulldogs just too much space on that occasion, and they just capitalised, and really the goal, Molly Gray, to the Bulldogs in number 7, Thomas Baxter, was just pretty simple in the end, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was. But the thing is, though, the Bombers should know that you just can't give the Bulldogs an opportunity because they're going to take it. They got that goal within the first 35 seconds. In the first quarter, they got their first one in the first 40 seconds as well. So, I mean, you know what happens when you give them an opportunity. So,
ball's played over on that far side. And it'll go out of bounds on centre wing. So 5-4-34 plays 1-2-8. Just over 90 seconds played in this second term. Not much breeze to speak of in the Blacktown area today, which is a vast difference from the last couple of weeks for footy out here for some of the NEFL games, as the Bombers try to work their way through some traffic. The Bulldogs now have the ball in their hands, and they're trying to get it clear and try and out-muscle the Bombers. Saw some ugly scenes in that first term. Some of the Bombers players taking out their frustrations and really letting themselves down. Bulldogs were sort of fighting back a little bit, but they managed to overcome it with some points. The Bombers, they just need to play some good football and start exerting some forward 50 pressure on the Bulldogs.
Yeah, absolutely. They just need to show up to the game and just drop the ego, leave the ego at the door, and not focus so much on what the Bulldogs are doing, but more on what they're doing. They know what their game plan is, and I always feel like when it comes to sport, when you play into the hands of the other team, you are not going to win. Like, it will not end well for you. So they just need to relax, play their own game because they're in the grand final for a reason.
So the Bulldogs now play it inside that forward 50 position, trying to go at it there. And it's the 22 in Samuel Gadden that tried to get the football clear for them. So the ball up, as you can see, will take place. Tap through the middle. Gadden just provides protection for the number 6 on that occasion in Charlie Burgess-Hall. And now the boundary throw-in will take place as the Sharon went over the boundary line. Comes back in. Bulldogs have got some strong numbers. Nice little turn around the body kick from the Bulldogs. And it's marked over on the far side there nicely by Burgess-Hall. So he's taken it in that ghost pocket of Blacktown and now has a banana kick to try and kick the 6th of the afternoon for the Bulldogs. So he moves in, good looking kick, and he's got it. So they kick their 6th. Nice awareness close to the boundary line. And now the margin, Molly, 32 points.
Oh, that was a great kick, wasn't it? I was thinking that he probably wasn't going to get it then because I haven't really seen too many of those today so far. But, I mean, these 19-year-olds, they are showing some amazing skill out there today. And the Bulldogs are just getting better and better throughout this game. I mean, the Bombers have really got to pick up their act if they want to compete in this game.
So these players at such a young age, all born around the turn of the century, as the Bombers move it through the midfield down towards centre half forward. And now the Bulldogs have possession, so they look for some options and they kick down centre wing. Good chance for points here. Ball goes back to the Bulldogs. They swing it nicely through the midfield, but it's good uncontested mark there by the 44 in Clarence Barker for the Bombers. Moves it over the top. Bulldogs just trying to get the ball on the fly. Comes back nicely, swings around for the Bulldogs. Good half volley pick up there. Chance here now. They'll move it through the midfield over the driest part of Blacktown International Sports Park, down towards the forward 50 position, but just outside the arc now. Now it progresses into the midfield. Contest is on for the ball. Players going to ground with it. It'll be the Bombers that go to ground. Again, there's players pulling players off here, which really is the umpire's job to kind of come in and sort that. And they're doing that well. But unfortunately, being down by 32 is really hurting the Bombers in different ways here. As it comes back nicely for the Bombers. They swing it through the midfield. Down towards that centre half forward position. Brings it back nicely. It's a smothered kick there from the 3 in Harrison Parker. And it goes down towards forward 50. Bombers looking impressive here. Good kick on the way, but it'll go wide and miss everything. So another opportunity goes begging there. This time William Regan missing on that occasion. They seem to be building nicely, but when they get inside that arc, everything just seems to fall apart, doesn't it, Molly?
They just panic. They've panicked a couple of times now, and I think they try and push the goal too soon when really they should just position themselves around the arc a little bit more effectively and then use their players more wisely instead of just going it alone and trying to go for the goal themselves.
Well, Barkley got the Bombers on the board in the first term and now has a chance to kick their 2nd of the afternoon. Try and reduce this margin just slightly. Took it from about 20 metres out. You'd think from that angle he'll probably put it through, and he does. So it's there for the second goal. So it's the Barkley show, really. He's kicked most of the points, 12 out of 14. And now 26 points is the margin between the Bulldogs and the Bombers.
Well, it took him 18 minutes in the first quarter and only 7 minutes in the second quarter. So, I mean, that's progress.
Yes, it is. So we come back to the centre bounce. It's stats like that that's seen you rise and rise and rise through the world of sports media, Molly.
You are welcome.
Have I got Ron Burgundy here, or it's tapped nicely through for the Bombers, just at half-back position. This is better stuff from them. Inside that forward 50 position, can't quite take it. The numbers are strong for the Bulldogs, and they swing it from that half-back position. Nice tap over the top. Some smart work from the Bulldogs, but good pressure from the Bombers. Now it comes to the Bulldogs. They try and tap the ball away. Good half-volley pass away to the Bombers. Moves through about 3 and 4 sets of hands. Kicks it down towards centre half forward. And a good mark there taken by William Regan. Regan now has it for the Bombers. This is better from them. Kicks it down towards the arc. Picked up on the fly. Bulldogs trying to get the football. And now they march up through the midfield. Kicks over on towards the outer wing. Baxter trying to get the football. He now has it in his grips. Steps, lefts and rights. Nice little bounce of the football. Great work from centre half forward. Kicks down towards forward 50. Bounce isn't a good one for the Bulldogs. And the Bombers will clear it. Bit of a smother on, but enough to get it away for the Bombers. And they kick it down towards centre wing. And it's a good mark there from the 54 in Adam Bastas. And now it comes back for the Bulldogs. So just as the Bombers are looking smart, they seem to turn it over with some uncharacteristic mistakes. So North Shore on the back foot here, but the Bulldogs on fire as Harmanis tries to come in field. He can't get the footy away, and the umpire will come in and call the ball up. So 9.5 gone in this second term. The margin 26 points. And things are starting to shift a little bit for the Bombers, but they just need a bit more forward 50 pressure. And they're not going to get it if they do things like that. So the mark is taken by the 23 and Errol Goulden. And no, the Australian crawl song isn't about this kid. So he took the mark from about 35 out. Has this chance. Difficult angle. Let's see if he can convert it. Left foot kick on its way. He's got it. So an impressive performance here from the Bulldogs. They're playing some smart footy in this second term, and they've pushed that lead out a little bit further. What do the Bombers need to do here, Molly, to get themselves back in this contest? They seem to be lacking a little bit of pressure inside that forward 50 and maybe creating a bit of space for the Bulldogs, which they certainly are capitalising on.
Yeah, I think, they are definitely allowing the Bulldogs to have more space than what they should. They really need to pick up their defence a little bit. And even, I think, in attack, that is where they really need to start focusing on as well, because that's where all their mistakes are being made. They finally get, like, a good mark, and then they rush it, and then they lose it again. So it's just about being aware of where your teammates are and moving the ball around in an effective manner.
So the Bombers just move it through the midfield, slowing it down nicely here. It's good work from them. They move it down towards centre half forward through Harrison Parker. Goes inside that forward 50 position on the fringes. The numbers need to be bigger and better here for the Bombers. Kicks it towards forward 50. Over the top the Bombers come. Tries to get the footy away. Comes back to Barkley. Now it's tapped off the left foot. High, long, but down towards the hot spot, but couldn't go through, and it goes through for a behind. It was impressive work there from Nathan Smith, the 7 for the Bombers. Thought it had enough to go through, but it was just gracefully tapped away and goes through for a behind. So they kick their third of the afternoon. And now it's 46-15 as Smith goes inbound towards forward 50. Fortuitous bounce for them. Comes back for the Bulldogs. And the Bulldogs will kick over the top. Harmanis tries to get the footy. Comes back away for Smith. Smith with a good torp inside forward 50. This might bring rain, but it doesn't. Comes back nicely for the Bulldogs. Just swing it along, but a good impressive mark there. And they're starting to build here nicely through the 54 and Adam Bastas. And he kicks it inside that forward 50 position. And it's the 44 and Clarence Barker. So he took the mark from about 45 out, but they really need to convert this opportunity, don't they, Mol?
Yeah, they do. You know, the Bulldogs have been so strong throughout the entire game. They're sitting at 46 points, and the Bombers, if they want to get some more points on the board, they've got to do it soon because we're moving into the final stages of the second quarter, and, you know, the third one could be where they lose it. They don't want the Bulldogs to get too far ahead of them.
So 13 gone in this quarter. Moves in, good-looking kick. But again, oh no, it's marked on the line. And again, they've missed there. Well, not sure what happened there. It was marked close to the line. They rushed the kick there, and Jackson Barling has kicked it behind. Well, unless the mark was taken over the behind line. So that must have been the ruling on that occasion, because from where Jackson Barling was, he really shouldn't have missed from there. So they kicked their fourth behind of the afternoon. Margin is 30 points with about 7 to go, you'd think, before half-time, the main break. Just goes inside forward 50. Nice mark taken just outside the arc by the 3 in Harrison Parker. He goes long. Big torp for the Bombers. On its way. Juggle close to the line. Bulldogs have got numbers there. Need to clear it, and they do from that half-back position. Nicely just in that right pocket. Now the Bulldogs need to lift a little bit here. Try to find some space. Kicks it through down towards Smith. He can't get the footy. Now he does for the Bombers. Moves it nicely. Through the middle they go. Swings it back towards the forward 50 position. Need an uncontested mark, but unfortunately that goes the way of the Bulldogs on that occasion. And it's the number 4 in Max Rise that takes it. Good kick down towards the boundary line. It'll bounce once and go out of bounds. So interesting that I thought for a moment they may have called deliberate on that play. But they didn't go with that option as players were contesting for the footy. Just tapped away for the Bombers. Nicely worked through centre wing position. Goes through the middle. Picked up. Bulldogs working hard to try and clear it. Bombers just trying to get the footy away. Comes back nicely. The 54 for them in Bastas. Kicks it down towards forward 50 position. Huge opportunity here for the Bombers. They need to turn something into points. Goes over towards that right pocket. And it goes out of bounds. So 28 in Nick Hill for the Bombers. Just might have panicked a little bit there, Molly, when he got inside that forward 50.
I think they've panicked a couple of times when they get into the forward 50, though. They seem to be doing really well in the midfield, but it's just as soon as they move into that arc, it's where they just mess it up a bit because they rush. I think once they get in there, they just need to take it slow and focus more on just doing the job well.
So the margin 30 points in favour of the Bulldogs. Bombers try to get the ball out of that half-back position, and the Bulldogs just working hard to try and clear it. Looks like there'll be a ball up after that messy contest. Bodies all over the place. And the umpire will come in and ball up just outside the arc. Bulldogs position well, but the Bombers clear it nicely along centre wing over the top. Couldn't be quite taken there by the 44 in Barker. He's done well to clear it there, but it's gone in the possession of the Bulldogs now. And it comes back for the number 4 in Max Rise over the top, just at the centre half back position. Takes it through the middle, nice smother, but the Bulldogs play on is the call. Tapped over the top nicely. Rise now with the football for the Bulldogs. Looking to build on their 30-point lead going into the half-time break. Down towards centre half forward, but nicely juggled there. Smart work from the 42 in Douglas Bolger. He goes towards centre wing, but eventually gives it back to Rise. So a kicking duel in progress at the moment, and it's going all in favour of the Bulldogs. They move it through the midfield, bring it down towards centre half forward. Bombers' numbers are strong. They need something big here. Comes back towards the Bulldogs' possession. Couldn't be marked, or has it been marked? Yes, it has been. So now the Bulldogs have a huge opportunity for some more points here in this contest. And it'll be the 23 there in Errol Goulden that has this shot from just off centre, left side, right pocket. Moves in and he smacks off the paintwork. So an unlucky miss there from Goulden. And they push it to 31 points the margin, right in the shadows of half-time. So not sure how to get the Bombers out of the mire here, Molly, but they need a massive third term to really challenge the Bulldogs here.
Yeah, they really do. Hopefully at half-time the coach will be able to sort of just get in their ear and get them to focus on their own game. I still believe that if they focus on their own game, that's where they can start to get some more points on the board here. But it's just about doing all of the little things right, and unfortunately they're not doing that today.
So the Bombers work it through midfield from that centre half back position. Trying to work it through the Bulldogs. Nice work from the Bombers. Classy work from them, but they give it up straight away. And now they'll kick it over on that far side, and they're moving laterally here, the Bulldogs. Now they move it up the middle. Nicely played there by the 11 in Max Geddes. Kicks it over on that far side down towards centre half forward. Chance for the Bulldogs inside that forward 50 position. Goes into some open real estate. Tapped over the top by the Bulldogs. Mark not paid, but it doesn't matter because it's a goal to the Bulldogs. Clever work from Jack Sorensen in the end. The mark wasn't paid. He played on, kept his head cool, and they kicked their 8th of the afternoon. 8-5-53, 2-4-16. Right in the shadows of half-time. That's got to hurt for the Bombers, Molly.
Absolutely. The Bulldogs are really starting to run away with that scoreline now, and unfortunately for the Bombers, it just isn't their day today. But, you know, hopefully when we come into the second half, that's where they can start to pick up again. But, I mean, credit to the Bulldogs. They're playing amazingly. They position themselves really well around the field as well, and the connectivity between the players, I think, is on point today.
Nicely worked from the Bulldogs down towards forward 50 position. Bombers trying to clear it. Interesting work here for them. The numbers are strong off the carpet. They've kicked another one. Errol Goulden adds to his tally for this grand final. And they kick their 9th. Well, I think on that occasion, the Bombers, maybe just a lack of communication. They were sort of all singing from different hymn sheets. And, well, Errol Goulden just came through and said, I'll take a goal.
Yeah, and you know what? He just has good vision around the field as well, just to be able to pick up those messy balls and, I mean, just put himself in the right spot, right in front of the sticks, and through it goes.
So back to the centre we go in the shadows of half-time here at Blacktown in this grand final between the Bombers and the Bulldogs. The Bulldogs in control at the moment. Can the Bombers fight this comeback in this third term? The third term has really decided the last 2 grand finals. And a thrilling win to Pennant Hills over Sydney Uni. And the ball will just go to ground there. And again, some more push and shove there. Harmanis is getting involved this time. He's been taken off. He's got some issues there with the 47 in Tom Meacham. That seems to have settled down, thankfully. So 59-16 in favour of the Bulldogs. And the siren sounds for half-time. Well, that'll be a welcome relief for the Bombers. But the Bulldogs, they will go into the main break with plenty of confidence going into these final 2 terms. What will happen in the second half? Will the Bulldogs just keep the momentum up, keep that confidence up and finish the job? Or can the Bombers, well, build an almighty comeback? We'll take a break. We'll find out on the other side. Well, welcome back to Blacktown International Sports Park and its third term action in this, well, exciting game between the Bulldogs and the Bombers, but it really has been all one-way traffic in terms of the Bulldogs' performance here this afternoon. But is there time for the Bombers? We'll find out as the Bulldogs move it through the midfield. This was the end that they kicked their first opening 4 goals. And now they've taken another mark just inside the arc. And it's the number 8 in Jack Sorensen that has this shot. So they kicked their first one within about 30 seconds. They kicked their second one within about 40 seconds of the first and second term. And, well, now they've taken another mark close to the goal square. And it's tapped through for points. So, again, the Bombers on the receiving end of a very early goal from the Bulldogs. And, well, certainly not the start that the Bombers wanted in this second half, Molly.
It isn't. It's been the same case in the first quarter, second quarter, and now the third quarter as well. And, I mean, we're still waiting for the Bombers to show up to today's game because the Bulldogs have just been all over them all day. And they're just proving to us why they are more than likely going to win this grand final.
So Ashley Backlund, the scorer on that occasion, took the mark close to the goal. It was nicely set up there by the number 8 in Jack Sorensen, and they kick it down again towards forward 50. Hey, what a mark. Terrific stuff from the Bulldogs. Oh, he flew high. Took a great mark close to the goal square. And it was the number 6 in Charlie Burgess-Hoare, who's been a real gun player for them this afternoon. He moves in, makes no mistake, and the Bulldogs go back-to-back goals. So again, Molly, it's just starting from that centre-half forward position, putting the roost in. It's landing just outside that goal square area, inside forward 50. It's really sort of 2 players, 3 players before they're converting it into a major goal.
Yeah, and the Bulldogs are just positioning themselves in really effective areas around the field as well. And they all seem to know where their teammates are. So the connectivity between them is really strong.
So it's tapped through the middle. Nicely played out by the Bulldogs. And again, they go through centre half forward. This time from 59. Oh, that is superb. They come from everywhere. Max D'Agostino. He puts the icing on the cake. And the Bulldogs kick a hat-trick in this third term. Well, that's just incredible. The way this game has really opened up. Very similar stuff to the way that this game started. They kicked 4 in the first 7 or 8 minutes. And now they've kicked 3 in as many minutes.
Well, we said at the start of the game as well, this happened in the previous game with Uni. Uni started off with so much momentum and they were so strong, but they dropped off as the game went on. And we said that, that would possibly happen with the Bulldogs, but they've proved us wrong. 3 quarters and they have played so consistently and they're just getting better and better.
So they move it through from that centre area. And now the Bulldogs looking to beat their own record of 3 goals to start a term. They've got possession, as you can see, in the centre square. Kicks it over on centre wing. Now they'll try and bring it back towards that centre half forward position where they haven't got many bodies, but now the troops are coming. A low trajectory kick inside forward 50, but it's nicely marked there by Smith for the Bombers. And he puts a good clearing kick down the boundary line. They need a good bounce, but unfortunately don't get it as it goes out of bounds. So 12-5-77 plays 2-4-16. 4 played in this third term, second half of this grand final. Hope you're enjoying the coverage right across the day. Still 2 more grand finals to come. Big day of footy here in Blacktown. And of course, 3 grand finals next week on Saturday and then 4 grand finals on Sunday. John O'Farr, Molly Gray and Ben Eisenhuth. They'll be your 3 callers for those games, which should be another big weekend of footy. As it comes inbound to the Bulldogs, they try and get the football, but the Bombers work it nicely. Play it across that far side, and the Bombers work it through the 12 in Nicholas Brewer. But now the Bulldogs will put a torp just towards inside forward 50. A juggling act. 2 Bulldogs players go for it, but neither can get it. Comes off the carpet. Nicely worked. Tapped around towards forward 50. Needs a good bounce. Can't get it. Sheeran was probably moving a bit quick. Hands aren't great from the Bombers. Tapped off the carpet by the Bulldogs. Numbers are strong. Bombers doing their best to try and clear it. What can they do? Umpire comes in again, a bit more don't argues from the Bombers. Nathan Smith's in there, probably being one of the main offenders, which is not great to see. The frustration really starting to boil over for the Bombers. You normally see a bit of jostling in AFL, but really starting to go to a new level here, unfortunately, for the Bombers. And now the Bulldogs will turn around and they will kick another goal. So, again, it's another one to Ashley Backlund. And they've kicked 4 unanswered goals in this third term.
Oh, there's no surprises there. I mean, the game has been played down their end the entire time. The Bombers haven't even really seen much ball at all, and they haven't even been able to get the ball up towards their full forward. So, like I said, no surprises that the Bulldogs keep scoring.
So back to the centre we come. Quite warm conditions here in Blacktown. After the morning we had, I was expecting a bit of a colder day, but spring has certainly sprung here at Blacktown. It's tapped away nicely by the Bombers. They kick it down towards forward 50, which has been a little foreign to them, but it's the Bulldogs that will take the mark. And it's kicked over on that far side. Played at nicely by the Bombers, but the Bulldogs are on the fly down the centre wing. Kick it downfield. Nicely picked up off the carpet, but couldn't quite get the control they wanted. Now the Bulldogs try and bring it through, but the Bombers, they have numbers. Good hand pass through the line. Away now, they bring it, the Bombers. Just work it nicely close to that boundary line. Tap over the top. Try to push it through. The punch and the spoiler's on. Needed to come for the Bulldogs. They needed to stop that, and they have. So it goes over on the far side there at Blacktown. Pitch would be pretty dry at this point based on a warmish day here in Sydney's West. There's a bit of frost on the ground earlier in the day. So it would have been challenging conditions for the women's grand final, but didn't we get a great contest between the Magic and the Saints as the Bulldogs try and work it through centre wing. Tapped over the top. Nicely worked. Baxter tries to come at the line for the Bulldogs. Now it plays at the line. Great work from the Bombers. They try and spread it through the centre wing position. Gives it back through the line. Now they go high and long down towards the forward 50 hot spot. Bulldogs just trying their best to get the footy away. It'll be the 22 in Gaddon that does his best to try and clear it for them. And again, the umpire will come in and ball up. So 8 minutes gone in this third term between the Bulldogs and Bombers. And the Bulldogs well and truly in control. 13-5-83 plays 2-4-16. Bulldogs now on the defence as the Bombers try and bring it inside that forward 50 position. But smart work from the Bulldogs clears it through the midfield. They fly high. Now they work it nicely through that midfield corridor. Down towards the forward 50 position. Numbers are pretty low for the Bulldogs, but strong for the Bombers. Good one-on-one contest. Ball comes loose. Bulldogs now trying to get for the possession of the ball. Might be a bit low out of reach. Bulldogs coming at the footy now inside that forward 50 position. Bombers just try and calm it down. Good smother. Harmanis was brilliant there. Ball off the toe. But he's kicked it wide. And it'll go through for the behind. So they kick their 6th of the afternoon. And now margin almost at 70 points. So he moves in down towards the Bulldogs centre half forward area. And again, some more players just jostling there. Frustration's really starting to boil over. It's disappointing to see from the Bombers, Molly.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it's been their consistent gameplay for the day today. They've just been a little bit all over the shop. Every time they get the ball in hand, they seem to make a mistake pretty soon after as well. And there's just no consistency. There's no go forward with them, unfortunately, for them, because this is a grand final.
So it goes down towards that centre half position for the Bombers. Going for that contest. A little bit of a push in the back there, but play on is the call. Comes back for the Bombers. They need a solid bounce, and they get one. That's strong work there from the Bombers. The kick is on its way, but it'll go wide of the posts. But better work there certainly from the Bombers. It was nice work from Harrison Parker to clear it. And now the Bulldogs will try and get it off their boundary line. Moves it just to half-back position. Working through the midfield. Comes at the line, the Bombers trying to work it nicely. Real scrappy football at the moment between the Bombers and Bulldogs. Now the Bulldogs under some pressure here from the Bombers. They try and clear it through their midfield. And the free kick will go the way of the Bombers. In fact, it'll go to the Bulldogs. So tapped over the top there nicely. Harmanis just playing a nice little cover role, but it'll go to D'Agostino. And D'Agostino will swing it inside forward 50. Now we'll just go to that half-back position. Over on the right pocket, swings it through. Nice work from the Bombers in protection. Goes close to the goal square. Dangerous stuff there. But they'll swing it back through that centre half forward position for the Bulldogs. Tapped over the top. Bulldogs trying to work hard to get the possession. Play will come back. It'll be a free kick to the Bombers here. So they'll try and move it now. They swing it through the line, through the 28, Nick Hill. He'll bring it through the midfield, and now the Bombers looking strong. Smart kick inside forward 50. Needs something here. Can't take the uncontested mark. Work to do here. Good turn and burn from the Bombers towards the goal. It'll go through for a behind. So, again, Rory Barkley just panicking there at a key time. And unfortunately, some pressure really prevented any further progression there for the Bombers, Molly.
Yeah, they seem to be rushing it every time they get into the arc. You know, I think they play well when they're in the midfield, but as soon as they get into the arc and they know that they need to get points on because they are so far behind now, that's where they start to rush things, and then that's where they start to make their mistakes. So once they get in there, I just think they need to settle it down and just slow it down and have a think about where they are and what they're trying to do.
So the Bombers just try and work it in. Good uncontested mark there from the Bombers and Parker. So Parker took it inside the arc and now has this opportunity to kick a major in this grand final. They need a miracle here, the Bombers. The Bulldogs have just played some smart contested footy in this third term, and they are well and truly in control of this grand final at the moment. As the Bombers move in from that right ghost pocket, he kicks it from the arc. Good looking height, got the distance, and it goes through for a goal. So a bit of sunshine through the rain for the Bombers. And it's Harrison Parker that gets the major. Well overdue, but that'll do wonders for the confidence for the Bombers, Molly.
Yeah, absolutely. Once you start to get points on the board, that's where the confidence will start to kick in, and hopefully they can settle down a little bit as well. I think that was really good by them. We spoke about the fact that, you know, they would rush things when they get into the arc, but that was just a prime example of them just slowing it down, getting the job done.
So we come back to the middle for the restart. And it's a nice contest in the middle for the football. Goes through that centre square area. Harmanis. Nice towering kick. Good clearing one from them, but the play will come back. So it'll be Rise that gives it away there. And they move it across line through Backlund. Backlund will move it through midfield, over towards centre half forward for the Bulldogs. Trying to work, but nicely worked at half back from Smith. He's been strong today for the Bombers. Now they just glide along centre wing. Kicks it down towards centre half forward. Good strong mark there from the Bombers. Starting to lift here. The numbers need to move inside that forward 50 and are now starting to do it. Play on is the call, told to move on. Kicks it just inside the arc. Bombers unfortunately don't have numbers at the back. Now they try and clear it. The Bulldogs. Smother is on. Bulldogs have got the numbers. Picked up on the half volley here. Bombers trying to come at the line, but tackled over the top. And again, the Bulldogs just respond nicely in an offensive role and put their player to ground. 2 more grand finals to come here on grand final day. That'll be 5 for the day. Massive day of footy. So the Bulldogs just try and swing it through that centre half forward position. Nice towering kick over the top there for the Bombers. They'll move it inside that forward 50 position. They've got numbers, but unfortunately the Bulldogs are first to the football. But a good clearing kick puts it down towards the goal square. They need something smart here, the Bombers. The Bulldogs have got numbers. Maybe holding the ball is the call. Umpire says no. So an interesting set of circumstances there, because you thought for a moment the player held down with it, could have cleared it. And the ball up will take place just adjacent to that goal square. It's rushed through for a behind. So Bulldogs just getting out of it with a good result there. 84 plays 24. Margin of 60 points. And now we're about 4 minutes, you'd think, away from three-quarter time. So, geez, interesting to be in that mindset of the Bombers players, Molly, and just what they're thinking at this point, being so far behind.
It's a hard place to be. I think being that far behind, I've played games before where we've ended up losing 67-3 one time, and that was probably one of the hardest games I've ever had to play in my life. But that's where you just need to hold on mentally, and even though the game is lost, I think it's always good to want to play to the best of your ability as well, and still be in it all the way until the end. They are definitely feeling the pressure now. I know I would be if there was such a large gap in the score, but we'll see what happens.
So, just as you were saying that, the ball's come down that boundary line, but it'll be a boundary throw-in. Players pushing and shoving in that contest. Comes at the line. Bombers just try and tap it away. Nice work from the Bulldogs. Harmanis, smart work from him. Had the right idea, but unfortunately the ball didn't, and it's gone left and through for a behind. So they kick their seventh behind of the afternoon, and they lead by 61 points. So a much different contrast to, well, certainly the last grand final that was decided by 8 points. And it was 36 points in the first game earlier today. So it's a nice mark there from Ashley Backlund for the Bulldogs. He kicks it over towards centre half forward. Nicely marked just outside the arc. Moves it from that half back position. Now he'll look for a roost inside forward 50. He's got plenty of toe on it. High, long. He's kicked it. Oh, look at the players come around him. Wonderful stuff there from the Bulldogs. And it was the 18 in Ethan Elliott that is the goal scorer. Geez, I reckon, Molly, he's kicked that from, I reckon, 53 metres.
It's impressive. They've been impressive the entire game today. The skill that they're showing is insane. I'm loving it. There are some really long-range kicks. There's some really great play in the air with all their aerial skills as well. They're just showing to us why they are the better team today.
Well, I reckon as Elliott grows older in his years, that kick will go from 53 metres to about 93 metres by he's done. I know they still talk about Wayne Harms from the 82 grand final. Some people reckon he kicked it from the car park for Carlton. He only kicked it just inside the arc. Anyway, comes back nicely for the Bombers. They work it through the middle. Good work off the toe. Might have been a push in the back there late. The Bulldogs will just try and control it, but it's nicely just picked up by the Bombers here, I should say. Nice hands there, but it's kicked across the face of goal, and it'll go through for a behind. Messy stuff from the Bombers. Sort of sums up the afternoon, unfortunately, that particular passage of football. 91 plays 25. That, you know, the tone of the grand final, unfortunately, for the Bombers was really set in that opening 8 minutes of this game.
Yeah, it really was. You know, the Bulldogs were able to get points on the board really quickly, and a lot of them as well. And you could see the frustration from the Bombers early on. They let their egos get in the way, and there was just a lot of pushing and shoving and fighting. And that's been the tone of their game the entire time today.
So Elliott kicks it over to the outer wing. The Bulldogs will manage to keep it inbound. Comes back nicely. Elliott plays another roll. Now to Baxter. Moves just outside the arc. One bounce. Kick on its way. Has it got the legs? No, it hasn't, but it might have been marked by a Bulldog. It has been. But there'll be a review here, and it looks as though it was touched on the line by the Bombers first. Umpire's just having a conference meeting. And it was touched on the line, so it's been deemed a behind. Scorer on that occasion, Jack Sorensen. So the Bombers will clear it from their goal square. Tapped over the top, but now they've got another chance. The Bulldogs, they kick it high, but the accuracy isn't great. And the kick sprays wide through Fred Tricks. And that'll go through for a behind. So they kick their 9th of the afternoon in the shadows of three-quarter time, and we'll probably get our first game on grand final day to go over the 100-point mark.
Yeah, and it's not going to take them much longer. They set the tone at the start of the game. What was it? Two sixes in the first 3 minutes. You know, they were always headed this way. It's not going to take them long now to get over the 100.
So they kicked 3 to start the game, and then they scored 4 to start this final term, this third term, I should say. It's the Bulldogs just move it through the midfield. Smart work from Elliott there to keep it controlled. Tried to go down towards his man, but couldn't clear it. Nice work at the back there from the Bombers, but it's come back the way of the Bulldogs. And now they will try and look for an opportunity there. It'll go down towards Burgess Hoare, who'll kick inside forward 50. Tapped by the Bulldogs. The Bombers try and control it now. They go to ground. Nicely worked there through the midfield. But they can't quite get the ball loose inside that forward 50 position. And the umpire will come through and ball up. 22 minutes gone in this third term. You'd think the siren is only a few seconds away. Bombers trying to move it at that centre-half forward position. Trying to move it now through the midfield. Good clearing kick up the train tracks. And unfortunately, it goes straight into an uncontested mark from the Bulldogs. They keep it alive now. And it's played there through nicely through Geddes. Geddes will work it through the midfield. Good kick, juggling act, not quite on for the Bulldogs. The Bombers have got space now. They put the ball through. Geddes takes the mark, kicks it over towards Harmanis. Can't quite get the football in the first take. Now he gets it, works it nicely. Back to Rise. Rise now kicks it across field, and the siren sounds for three-quarter time. So a better quarter for the Bombers, but unfortunately an even better one for the Bulldogs. 14-9-93 plays 3-7-25. The grand final, you would think, is all but the Bulldogs, and that's not a great way for the Bulldogs to finish the final term. But from 75 out, he was 1,000 to 1 to kick a goal. So three-quarter time, 14-9-93 plays 3-7-25. As I said, a break, and on the other side, all the action of the final term. And welcome back to Blacktown International Sports Park for Grand Final Day 2018 in the AFL Sydney competition. And it's the North Shore Bombers going up against the Eastern Suburbs Bulldogs. It's been all one-way traffic, unfortunately, for the Bulldogs here today. They lead it quite comfortably by 68 points at the moment. So it'll take a miracle comeback for the Bombers if they're going to hold up the silverware here this afternoon. Let's see what this final term delivers as the Bombers work it through that centre-half forward position over the top there. Bombers trying to work, but limited real estate prevents anything. Rise puts some nice pressure on the Bombers on that occasion. And Rory Barkley just ran out of room over on that far side in that right pocket. So the boundary throw-in will take place. John O'Farr, Molly Gray, your two callers for today's game and right across this day and, of course, next week. We'll be joined by Benny Eisenhuth, who's ready and raring to call some footy as the Bombers go to ground with the Sherrin. They try and work it. And so one of the Bombers players late to his feet there, but he's okay. Tap through from the Bulldogs. They try and work it through that half-back position, kick it through the midfield, but a nice uncontested mark taken there from the Bombers. And it'll be the 42 and Douglas Bolger that'll take the mark. Kicks it downfield. Nicely played away by the Bulldogs. They'll play it just at that half-back position. They kick it over to some open real estate, and Harmanis will just watch it go out of bounds. So, Molly, I mean, you would think with 68 points being the margin, this one is all said and done, but what do the Bombers need to do just to give themselves a bit of pride back in the tank? Because that's really all that's left, unfortunately.
Yeah, that is all that's left. This game is well and truly over. But I think it's just important that they play all the way until the end. Don't let their egos get in the way. And that's something I've said a couple of times throughout this game. Just because there's been a few little iffy push-shove fights going on throughout the game. And I think just do the game the justice that it deserves and just play it as hard as you can all the way until the finish.
So the Bombers just work it inside that attacking centre half forward area. Try and go inside forward 50, they do. Can't take the mark, but there's plenty of numbers close to that boundary line, but they'll go out of bounds. The Sharon will race over there. And unfortunately, Pierce Roseby sees the ball go out of bounds, the number 9 for the Bombers. Good ball up, tapped away. Roseby tried to get it away for the Bombers. Comes nicely back in field. Just socketed off the ground by the Bulldogs. They'll try and keep the ball alive. And the umpire will come in, you'd think, at this stage and ball it up. So fatigue certainly will be playing a huge role in this final term. You can already see some of the players just looking a little bit sluggish, which you can understand. It's been a frenetic 3 terms. As the Bulldogs swing it through midfield, but it's nicely marked there by the Bombers. They'll try and bring it back through the middle. Tapped over the top. Nicely worked through the middle. And it'll be the Bulldogs that just take it down to that centre half forward position. Over on that far side, Harmanis tries his best to keep the football alive, but unfortunately not the case. And the Bombers will try and just clear it at that half-back position. Pushes it through towards the arc. Bit of open space for the Bombers. They probably needed a little bit more than that in grand final day. As it comes through the middle. Nice kick. Almost a turnover there, but great hands from the Bombers. Keeps the ball in their possession. Comes through at that centre half forward position. Ball coming back, going through a series of hands, as you can see. Over on that far side, the Bombers take it. Swings it back through the middle. Nicely played at. Barkley tries his best. Looks like he's been quite hurt there as he went for that spin. And now Rise. Nice pivot and spin based off that boundary line. Ball goes down to ground and will eventually trickle over the boundary line. Barkley's back on his feet, which is good to see, but took a bit of a tumble. Unfortunately, and went to ground with a shoulder injury, it looked like initially, but thankfully it was just a bit of a twinge. There's now the boundary throw-in to take place just in front of the limited fans, as you can see on the hill there. Working nicely. Work to do for the Bombers. They work it through centre wing, down towards centre half forward. Punched away there nicely. Bombers under some pressure, but this is better stuff from them. Now they work it inside forward 50. A roost from 45. And they kick a goal. Well, it won't make much difference in this grand final. But at least that young player can say that he's kicked a goal on grand final day. So not a bad effort there from the Bombers. They worked it nicely along that centre wing and, well, you saw the result and that was pretty classy.
Yeah, absolutely. It just goes to show that they're going to try and be as consistent as they can all the way until the end. You know, they moved the ball around well and then they just went for it and it worked out for them. If only they were able to do that throughout the entire game, that would have been great to see. But you know what? Points are points, and as long as they stay in it.
So Luke Parks, the goal scorer on that occasion. As the ball comes through the midfield, he's got the footy now in his hands and puts it down towards centre half forward. It's an impressive mark. It's taken there at the back. And now they'll set up for another goal. So the Bombers starting to lift, but unfortunately all at the wrong time. Now they have this chance from about 10 metres out. Moves in, should be kicking this one and does. So the Bombers go back-to-back with goals. It's really all about pride, unfortunately, for this team. They've been completely outclassed by the Bulldogs this afternoon. And that goal on that occasion goes to the 25 in Mitchell Sisafuli. So he puts his name on the score sheet. We go back to the centre. So look, that scoreboard, I mean, it's still very much in the favour of the Bulldogs, Molly, but with those two goals, it's starting to look a little bit more respectable for the Bombers.
Yeah, absolutely. And, you know, you never know what could happen. With the way that they just scored those two goals then, it shows that they really want to stay in this for as long as they can. And even now, there we go. Lost it again, unfortunately. It's just those turnovers. It's always been those turnovers throughout the entire game where they look like they're starting to get a little bit of momentum and then they lose it again.
So the Bombers will work it through centre wing. Punch away, the spoilers on for the Bulldogs. They try and work it through the midfield. Nicely worked over the top. Great hands. Harmanis is absolutely flying. Kicks it from 60 metres down towards goal, and it'll miss everything. But tapped in. Is it play on? No, it's not, because the Bombers have knocked it out of bounds. Harmanis was absolutely zipping through midfield there. Had a crack from, I reckon, about 60 out. Geez, it would have been an impressive goal if it had stayed a little bit straighter. As it comes inbound for the Bombers, who'll try and clear it. But it's an uncontested mark taken there by the 22 in Gadden, who's been pretty strong this afternoon for the Bulldogs. They'll kick it infield. Goes down towards the Bombers. Back start, tries to work it close at the line. Brings it back infield and can't really do much. Thomas Baxter kicked a goal earlier in the game when they went on that 4-goal-1 assault, which really set up the game. 26 unanswered points that set us up. And it's a clever little tap through, but it's been fielded by the Bombers and they'll clear it. So the Bombers starting to show a little bit more space out on the field. Nicely worked from the Bulldogs. They move it through the midfield. They bring it back down towards centre half forward and inside forward 50. Nice little footwork there from the Bombers. They'll bring it through midfield up the train tracks. Nicely marked over the top there from the 20 in Barker. Goes across field. In fact, that was Barkley. Now it comes back towards the Bombers. They pivot and spin. Good work from the Bombers, but the kick will go through for a behind. And on that occasion, it was the number 3 in Harrison Parker that has put the ball through for the behind. So 93-38. Certainly much more impressive than where we were placed at three-quarter time for the Bombers. I think they've kicked 2 goals too in this final term. And we're about halfway through this final term in this grand final in 2018. Plenty of sun. Not many clouds to speak of in the sky. So that probably means as we get a little bit closer to the last grand final, Molly, the temperature's going to drop and maybe the cold conditions might play into maybe the favour of some teams and the disadvantage of others.
Oh, it's absolutely going to get colder later. I can guarantee it. You know what? I think the cold will affect you only for a little bit, but I don't think it's going to get too bad. It's just one of those things, once you get out there, once you get warmed up, when the adrenaline kicks in, should be good to go. They'll be fine, I reckon. You and I, on the other hand, might be a bit cold.
Character building. It's okay. I've been through worse. Goes through the midfield, the Bombers. And it's played out nicely by them. They try and clear it, but the Bulldogs, as you can see, strong numbers there. They just come in and stop the progression. 14-9-93 to 5-8-38 in favour of the Bulldogs here. So Eastern Suburbs are probably about 9 or 10 minutes away from a premiership title in 2018. They've really deserved it this afternoon. They've been setting the pace all day from that 4-goal-1 spree at the start to set them up nicely, and they've just really continued along there. And unfortunately, the Bombers have played a little bit like the Sydney Swans yesterday against the GWS Giants and just never been able to take a trick, unfortunately. Outclassed in a big contest as the ball goes out of bounds over on the far side. So when you're at this stage in a grand final and you're on that winning side, I mean, is it a challenge to keep your emotions in check, Molly?
I think so. I think for some people it definitely is. When you know that you are so far ahead, sometimes you can actually drop your standard because you think that you're already there when you're actually not yet. The game isn't finished until it's finished, and anything can happen. I think you really do have to. It's a skill to be able to keep your emotions in check the entire time. That's for sure. Is
it something that comes through life experience or game experience?
I think it's a bit of both. It definitely is. I think life experience really does impact a lot on your sporting ability. But it's just experience in the game as well. You've got to know how to act under pressure as well.
So they move it down towards centre half forward. It's a nice mark taken by the Bombers, and now they'll try and bring it at half back. Just going through that midfield, but unfortunately not the day for the Bombers. Again, bit of a push and shove there, unfortunately, going on. So it comes through the line. The Bombers taken over the top there. It was the 13 for the Bombers that put a pretty decent tackle. Probably went a little bit high. So now it's gone through for a behind. So 94-38 in favour of the Bulldogs as the Bombers try and clear it from their goal square and do so well to the arc. High Roost gets it almost to midfield and that half-back position. Now the Bulldogs will swing it along centre wing. Uncontested mark, just juggled there. Play on is the call. Good kick inside forward 50. Bit of a push in the back here. But it won't matter because the Bulldogs have taken a mark inside the 50 position. So it was nicely set up there by the 6 in Burgess Hall. And now Baxter has this opportunity from about 30 out. Good kick on its way. It's a low trajectory kick. Might have been touched on the line and has been. So they moved it numerically there, the Bulldogs, 6-7, but unfortunately it's just led to the 1 point. So they kicked their 11th behind of the afternoon, and now that margin almost at 60 points. So the Bombers now just starting to move it through the midfield. They bring it down towards that centre half forward position. Fancy footwork close to the arc. Good kick inside forward 50, but fortunately they all can see as blue jumpers. Goes over the top, some pressure. Smart hand pass over the top. Bulldogs have some work to do here. Bombers working nicely inside that forward 50 position. And Smith will be the last man to hold it there. So 15 gone in this final term. You think probably around 4 or 5 minutes left in this grand final. Punched away by the Bulldogs. They try and knock it through down towards half-back position. Good hustle there from the Bulldogs, and it was strong there, work there from Sam Thorne, who just sees the ball go out of bounds. Boundary throw in to take place, punched away by the Bulldogs, tapped through nicely. The Bombers now working it through the midfield. Good kick over the top, down towards centre half forward, but it's picked up now by the Bulldogs, and they'll work it beautifully through the 2 in Thomas Tyson. Gives it back inside forward 50 position. Smart work for the Bulldogs, but they've got to clear it. They're at the wrong end. Harmanis now in some open field. He'll try and go after it. Picked up nicely by the Bombers. Good hustle there from Harmanis, and the 56 and Luke Parks will be out muscle just close to the line. Final stages of the grand final. Some of the Bulldogs players celebrating on the bench. They're just a couple of minutes away. The engraver, he'd be riding the Eastern Suburbs Bulldogs on the trophy for 2018. North Shore, unfortunately, like many teams do, I suppose, in sport over the years, Molly, just left their worst game to their most important game.
And that's the worst part, isn't it? You could have an amazing season, make it all the way to the grand final, and then you just choke at the end of it. And it's a real shame for the teams that happens to. And I mean, it happened to the Bombers straight out of the gate. They've, they've done well in this last quarter to pick up their momentum a little bit. They managed to score those 2 goals consecutively, which was really great to see. But yeah, they just really didn't show up today, and they did. They left their worst game for the grand final, unfortunately.
So the ball up will take place just outside the arc. 95 plays 38. Favour of the Bulldogs. $57 points the margin in favour of the Bulldogs. And now the ball up will take place. Tapped away. Just through the midfield they go. Nicely worked by the Bombers, but the footing wasn't great. Now it's tapped by the Bulldogs. They need some work to do. The Bombers come over the top. Again, a little bit of don't argues put in there. And now the Bombers have a chance here through the 52. In Kale Gabila. And he has an opportunity now from just inside the arc. Gabila on the way. Good looking kick, but it'll go close to the line. In fact, it's been caught by the Bulldogs and they'll swing it along the boundary line. Tapped away over the top. Ball just goes out of play. And it goes out of bounds. So you'd think about 90 seconds to 2 minutes away from that full-time siren. So now they work it nicely. The Bombers, they just try and play it over on that far side. Smartly worked across the line there by the Bulldogs. In Tyson. Now it comes back in field and, well, there it is. The full-time siren sounds. It's been a superb performance from the UNSW Eastern Bulldogs. They were really the better team all day. They started with that 4-goal-1 flurry at the beginning of the first term. The second term, they started things really well. They beat their feet in the third term, kicking 4 unanswered goals, and they've really just controlled things beautifully inside this final term. So the grand final, the spoils go to the UNSW Eastern Suburbs Bulldogs, and unfortunately commiserations to the North Shore Bombers. Final score, 14-11-95 to North Shore, 5-8-38. What did you make of the grand final, Molly?
You know, I thought it was a pretty interesting game. The Bulldogs came out of the gate firing, and they set the tone really early on in the piece, and they were able to keep their consistency throughout the entire game. They didn't let the Bombers get anywhere near them the entire time, and I mean, it was really great to watch a team like that execute their game plan so effectively. Unfortunately for the Bombers, they just didn't show up at all today, and you know, they just have to deal with the loss now, unfortunately. But other than that, I thought it was a really great game. You know, there was a lot of good hits, there was a lot of good skill, high-level skill. It was impressive.
Well, the Magic picked up the win in the first grand final. The Demons picked up the win in the second grand final, and the third grand final has well and truly gone to the Bulldogs. They've beaten the Bombers here today in a terrific game of football. 57 points the final margin. A superb performance. Really was controlled, as I said, in that early stanza of the first term. So the UNSW Eastern Suburbs Bulldogs, they're the premiers in 2018. The celebrations, obviously, for them begin. The building for season 2019 begins right now for the North Shore Bombers. You'll be able to see all the action of the post-game presentation. So we will take a break. On the other side, grand final number 4.
My name is Dean Lee and I'm the manager of AFL Sydney Football. Operations manager, I should say. I would like to congratulate UNSW on a great game of football today. You led all day from the start, got out of the blocks early. Great game of football. Commiserations to North Shore. It wasn't your day. You came up against a very strong side on the today. Maybe next year, guys. I know that a lot of you have another year left in with the under 19s, so heads up, come back again next year. Could I please now also acknowledge the umpires? They do a great job all year. And thank you to Tom and others for umpiring today. Your help is much appreciated by all the community. Without you, we don't get a game. We always say that. So everyone, leave the umpires alone. They do a great job. All right. So to begin, can I please call on the North Shore captain to come up and say a few words? Thank you.
Just like to thank UNSW for a great game. You guys were the top team all year, and you all deserved it. For you guys played great. Just want to thank my boys. You guys had a brilliant year. Not just the boys sitting there playing today, but the whole squad. Everyone who played who did one this year. Thank you very much. Just like to thank our coaches. Couldn't have done it without you guys. Taught us all year how to play well. And thanks to the parents and the volunteers always helping out every week. Those are the people that really run the club well, and without them we're nothing. So yeah, thank you again to UNSW and yeah.
Thank you. The umpires have picked the best on ground today in the grand final for the under 19s Div 1, and it goes to Errol Gold. Shall I call on President of UNSW, Stephen Dunkley, to help me hand out the medals. Right, I'll call them out in Maxim Arms. For 1. Number 2, Tommy Tyson. Number 3, Bailey Foot. Number 5, Isaac Bartholomew. Guys, stay up here with the middle. Let's go. 6, Charlie Burgess-Orr. Number 7, Tommy Baxter. Eight, Jack Sorensen. 10, Max Diastina. 11, Max Guinness. 12, Harrison Dyson. 13, Sam Thorne. 14, Fred Cripps. 16, Lachlan Swaney. 17, Ash Byrne. Brian. 18, Ethan Elliott. 19, Nathan Harrison. 20, Ashley Buckland. 21, Jack Kleinberger. 22, Sam Yaden. 23, Errol Golden. 24, Jack Hill. And Captain Max Rice. Also call on Coach Kevin Dyson, come and say a few words. Thank you so much. So just a couple of words from us. Obviously, an incredibly exciting day. Great footy to see what's on show here today. To John, North Shore, you guys were the best side in terms of opposition that we had all year. There's no doubt about it. It was always going to be a really tremendous battle. And I'm proud of every one of those players. Some of them I've known since they're quite young. So congratulations on the season. Okay, but for our boys, what a win. What a fantastic day. And we set out this year, UNSW had another team, a Division 2 side, and what we set out to achieve was to become a respected and united group. And I think that's what you saw on the field today. Not just here, over there, okay? The Prens with Polly and Fife and Dunks and what he's put together at this football club is something we should cherish and endure for a long, long time. So thank you again for everyone coming along. Congratulations to you boys. Remember this forever.
Yeah, first of all, I just want to thank North Shore. It's always a good battle between us two clubs. You've been such a good club for so long, but we were just lucky enough to get the job done on the day. I want to thank the umpires as well. Like they said, without you, we have no game. And also I want to thank people like Stephen Dunkley and Darren Pfeiffer and Polly, the senior leaders of the club. The senior coaches and leaders of the club that have helped us through the season. And then I want to thank Kev Dyson, Slab, Reese, Neil, Matty, everyone who helps out during the season. Just without you, we wouldn't be here. I said, yeah. And Burnsy, and the Div 2 boys, of course. Without you guys, we wouldn't have a team.
Now for the Premiership Cup, invite back Steve Dunkley, who'd love it to give it to his coach Kevin and the team.